really looked at plants? like really? You know, they grow pretty slowly. You have to speed it up to really see them move, and that means I think we take them for granted, and we don't really see what they're doing. But it's ridiculous. They grow out of the dirt from sunlight and air. That's insane. I'm a biologist by training, so I'm obsessed with biology in all its forms. And I hope to convince you that biology is an exciting form of technology. And in fact, we at Ginkgo like to say that biology is nanotechnology that works. So these are some single-celled microbes. They have a flagella. That's the thing that wiggles, that allows them to move around. When you zoom in on the flagella, you see all of these tiny proteins that form this really intricate, complex structure of rings that interconnect and move and form the flagella. This forms itself. It self-assembles at the nanoscale. When you compare that to the sort of common human nanoscale technology, perhaps in a semiconductor, these are fins in a semiconductor. That's the same width, 40 nanometers apart of those two fins. Inside all of that are all that complexity of the flagellar motor. So biology is awesome. Biology is beautiful. Biology does things that we can't even begin to approach with human technology. But biology can also be designed. This is a petri dish with bacteria on it that's acting as bacterial film made by some undergraduates about 10 years ago at UT Austin. So the bacteria can respond to light and produce a pigment when they have the light on them, so they act as a film. And that's because of their ability to now design DNA sequences into that bacteria. So at Ginkgo, where I work, we're building an automated platform and the software and robotics that's necessary for us to really be able to design biology effectively and bring biology to a lot of new markets and spaces. We're an organism design company. We work with partners in consumer products, in food, in agriculture, and health, and in consumer electronics, bringing biology to the processes and products that people use every day. The way that we do that is by starting to look first at the DNA of organisms. So if you want to, say, produce the smell of a flower, you would look at that flower, find the enzyme that's making that smell, find its DNA, and you want to be able to transfer it into a yeast that you might be able to grow in a brewery. So now as you're making that beer in the yeast, it's actually perfume that you can extract and use as if it were any other ingredient. So what we do actually is take that DNA sequence and send it basically in an email. It's slightly more complicated, but really it's not that much more complicated. We'll send our email to our friends at Twist Bioscience, and we get DNA in the mail a few weeks later. So then we can insert that DNA into the yeast sequences using our robotic system. And then now that yeast itself has become a factory to produce that ingredient, that product, that perfume. And so you can put it into a tank that sort of looks like a microbrewery. In fact, one of our perfume ingredients is now scaled to about 50,000 liters. That's a tank that's about 2 or 3 stories high. But you grow the product in a brewery. Products made like this are used in all sorts of industries, from the enzymes that make your laundry detergent more high efficiency at cold temperatures, to perfumes, cosmetics, and food ingredients. So Soylent has a very big pro-GMO stance. A lot of their ingredients are produced this way, and algae, and as well as other ingredients. And then Impossible Foods, a new plant-based burger, is using this kind of technology to make that meaty taste using plant-based materials. A lot of brands are also exploring biotechnology and the potential for using biotech materials to create new kinds of consumer products. So we're starting to see new trends in consumer biotechnology, where you actually have product launches in biotech that look more like, like an Apple event than, a typical biotech launch, which I can assure you is not as interesting. People are working with engineered spider silk, so brewing spider silk in the lab, one of the strongest materials in the world. You have people working with fungi to make architectural materials for furniture or even buildings. And you have people growing leather in the lab, like Modern Meadow. My role as creative director is actually to kind of think about those concept cars, too, to think about what's coming in the future and where this technology is going to interface with new industries and new potential spaces. So I'm trying to make the smell of a flower that went extinct. So this is a plant that was been preserved in the herbarium for about 150 years. We're doing some sequencing. I just got the DNA sequence back, and so we're about to send that email out and see what happens. And I really love the work of there's a whole community now of artists and designers who have been part of this community of scientists and engineers trying to figure out what the future of biotechnology is. Exploring all the ways that biotechnology is intersecting with all of the things in our daily life and helping us rethink how biology might transform things. Might we be able to transform our skin to become the atomizer for the perfume itself? So rather than spraying perfume on, your skin is actually exuding it, either metabolically somehow, or actually the bacteria that lives on your skin could be producing that perfume. So this is work by Lucy McRae, who's an amazing artist who thinks about the intersection of the body and technology. This is work by Anatsai Chiesa. She's a textile designer looking at how bacteria produce pigments and finding new ways of dyeing fabrics that use very little water and can create new kinds of imagery and patterns and a new aesthetic using microbes. Natsai is actually going to be in residence with us at Ginkgo this summer. I'm really excited to see what we might make together. I'm also really interested in how new understandings of biotechnology and new ways of domesticating microbes might change our own relationship to our bodies and the bacteria that are there all the time. This is a project I did a few years ago with an odor researcher named Sissel Tolas. We were interested in the intersection between the bacteria that live on our bodies and the bacteria that make our food. Stinky cheeses, you may be familiar with the fact that there are cheeses that smell like feet. And it's in fact because the same bacteria live between your toes as live on cheese. And so what's breaking down the oils in your feet and making all those smells is doing the same in cheese. So we sampled some people's feet and we made some cheese. So I did taste it. It's fine. It tastes like cheese, but this was not really, the intention is not to produce food, but to produce food for thought. To think about, why is it gross? Why do we think that the bacteria in our body is disgusting? Why is that something that needs to be cleaned away? How can we encourage new kinds of relationships and new love for microbes? Can we also think about new ways of interacting with microbes and to think about our health? This is a project by Daisy Ginsberg and James King called E. chromai. They were working with students that had engineered E. coli to produce a rainbow of pigments. And they imagined a kind of diagnostic product, a yogurt drink that you could take, and it would be able to sense something going on in your gut and produce a colored output that you would be able to easily recognize. So for me, this project, I mean, is amazing on many levels. One in particular is thinking about poop as technology, I think is really interesting, right? And I think changes, when we're thinking about technology and those kinds of sleek, stainless, not smelling kinds of technologies, how is biology and the aesthetic of biology going to inspire new ways of thinking about technology? This is work by a student of mine. I taught at Art Center College of Design a few years ago. I did some classes on design for the microbiome. And so Sang Lee was really interested in if we could see the microbes on our skin, would that change our interactions with each other? Would we have new ways of shaking hands and kissing and hugging if we could actually know what was there? So I think right now we only know it's there when things go wrong, right? You know, you have an infection, right? You have something, you're sick. That's when you recognize your bacteria. What if you could recognize and love your bacteria all the time? I think there's also a lot of really interesting design exploring how we might domesticate microbes and bring them into our home when you're looking at things like energy production or composting. Phillips did a really interesting design fiction on the microbial home, imagining all the appliances in your kitchen through the lens of microbes and seeing where biotechnology might be able to change our interactions with our everyday objects and everyday life in the kitchen. You might also start to imagine, well, what if you could grow these kinds of microbes in your own home? So, you know, what happens when you have that microbrewery and bring it down? What does distributed manufacturing look like? And when you have bioproduced products, when you can grow products instead of manufacture them. And then I think you can also start to reimagine new interactions with our broader environment. What if we could be more integrated with our ecosystems? How could we grow with the environment and shape things together in a way that's more sustainable and more effective? So I want to close by encouraging you to like really look at your hand, right? And to like really imagine what's going on there and all the things that are invisible to you but are keeping your skin healthy, keeping you healthy, and imagine what we might be able to do. Imagine our biology as a new platform to innovate and a new platform to design. And so I would love to talk to you all who are doing such interesting things in design and innovation. Come find me during the meet and greet or get in touch if you want to talk about how biology might be part of your platform too.